The last month of 2023 is upon us. Where'd all the time go? What's going on, guys? I'm Chris, and welcome back to another video. So I watched 5 new releases in November of 2023, which for me is a lot compared to a lot of the other months this year. So I decided I'm gonna rank these for you guys as opposed to doing an everything I watched video. But before I rank the 2023 movies I watched in November, be sure to hit that like button and comment your favorite November 2023 release down below. Subscribe and hit that notification bell to help reach my goal of 100,000 subscribers here on the channel. I'm trying to make that final push as we approach the end of the year. And go show some love to the new podcast episode that dropped yesterday. Any support goes a long way over there. Alright, so kickstarting this list at number 5 is a potential hot take. It's one of the more divisive movies I've seen on Twitter lately. The Killer, directed by David Fincher. And I didn't hate this movie, but I was pretty underwhelmed with this movie. When it comes to Fincher's filmography, to me, he's one of the premier directors working today. I adore The Social Network, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Fight Club, Seven, Gone Girl, Zodiac's a really solid watch. He's got a very impressive filmography, and so that's why I walked out of The Killer, or at least turned off The Killer on streaming because I didn't see it in theaters. I walked out of it a little underwhelmed. I think Michael Fassbender owns it, and the movie does a great job of portraying, the emptiness of being an assassin. You can see through Fassbender's performance how just cold-hearted these people are, and they're lacking empathy and real emotion throughout the film. And so it succeeds, in a sense, if that's what it's going for, but at the same time, I just felt so disconnected because I didn't feel anything for any of the characters in this film. A lot of it is just Michael Fassbender's character, the killer, having these voiceovers. It reminded me a lot of Joe Goldberg in You, how we just hear Penn Badgley voicing over the character. I think it's more effective in something like that, but here, it just didn't really click for me. It felt like it was also lacking in terms of progressing the story. Like, the main plot was a little all over the place in terms of jumping from chapter to chapter, and it just never captured my full interest the way I thought it would. I guess I went into this wanting it to be more along the lines of something like Gone Girl or Zodiac, where it's a straight up thriller, and instead we got almost a character study on the killer, but it came off a little bit shallow and empty for me, at least. I get what the movie's going for, not really my cup of tea, and it's fine, but I'll never watch it again, and it's one of the weaker Fincher films to me. Next on my list is Disney's Wish. This is the animated film that came out sort of commemorating 100 years of Disney. Where this movie succeeds is with the music, specifically the song This Wish. That is a certified banger, and that's like the let it go of this movie, the one that will be overplayed, and in a few months we'll all probably be sick of it. But Ariana DeBose, the Oscar winner herself, voices the main character in this film, Asha, and she crushes it there. Chris Pine has so much fun as the main villain in this film, Magnifico, and he has his moments to shine in the musical department. But the movie, especially after sitting on it, feels a little stale to me in retrospect, and it was never really doing too much to push Disney forward. It's nice that it pays homage to a lot of things. There's tons of references to previous Disney films in here. Pretty much every Disney animated film is referenced in some way, shape, or form, even if it's in the credits of the film. But it is a pretty safe entry, nothing too new, and it's honestly kind of generic. The movie gets a little too cliche and cheesy for me at times, which took me out of it. Specifically in the third act, I was like, okay, really? It's fine. It's a harmless Disney film. It's middle of the pack to meh in terms of overall Disney animation. It's not even comparable to something like Tangled, Moana, or Frozen, but it was a serviceable watch, and I'm sure families will enjoy this. I don't see myself ever revisiting it, though, which is kind of upsetting for a movie that's supposed to celebrate 100 years of Disney. Next on my list is The Marvels, the latest MCU film that was super controversial and divisive, and unfortunately did underperform at the box office. I think a lot of factors weigh into that. Obviously, the film didn't get the best reviews out of the gate. A lot of people were just anti this movie ever since it was announced, and unfortunately the timing of everything with superhero fatigue in media right now, it's unfortunate, but like everything lined up for this movie to kind of underperform from the start. That being said, I had a lot of fun with it. Is it perfect? No. It's not even close to being one of the best MCU movies, but it's not one of the worst either. I've seen so many people come out on Twitter or YouTube and say, this is the worst MCU movie, it's a disgrace. And I can't get on board with that, because the movie does have an undeniable charm. Iman Vellani, who plays Kamala Khan, star. She is great in this Marvel show, and that carries over directly into this movie. The camaraderie with the trio really shined for me. I think they did a lot with Brie Larson's Captain Marvel, especially her relationship with Monica. They strengthened that as they showed there was a long period of time where Carol never showed up for Monica, and they had a little bit of awkwardness between them, but they had to work through it because deep down they are family at the end of the day. The villain in this movie was generic as hell and throwaway, and it is what it is. I've come to kind of accept that with MCU films, unfortunately. It's a big critique I have with a lot of them, is how throwaway the villains are, and that's the case here. I also think the movie has a bit of a jarring start, in my opinion. It kind of starts at lightning speed, and we're jumping from place to place, character to character. It's like, whoa, can we find our footing? But once it does, I was on board for the ride this movie took us on, and honestly, I had so much fun. The post-credit scene gave us a glimpse at what we can expect with the future of the MCU. You could say the movie played it safe, but I really did enjoy my time with it. I thought the humor worked, notably with Kamala's family. They were a standout. Nick Fury's great here. I'm never going to turn down more Flerken, so I thought this movie gave us a nice new camaraderie between a trio of MCU characters. It was cool to see this new team up, and the movie's fun. I don't know why it was so bashed, but that's just my opinion, to each their own. My runner-up is Thanksgiving. This is a movie that I almost didn't go see, but I saw one buddy of mine saw it, another saw it, and he recommended it to me, and I was like, look, I'm just gonna go see this movie. So I went to the theater at 12:15 on a Monday. No one else was there, which is rare for me. That's the second time in my life I've gone to the movie theater and been the only person in the cinema. And to me, that's the ideal way to see a movie. Just you in the audience. It enhances the experience whether you want to admit it or not. But I saw Thanksgiving. This is an Eli Roth slasher film based around the Thanksgiving holiday. It takes place in Plymouth, Massachusetts, and after something goes horribly wrong on Black Friday in this small town, the next year someone has started these killings and they are wearing a John Carver mask. It's a bloody movie, it's gory, it embraces what a slasher should be, and it's fun. My common critique with slasher films, especially the big franchises that arose in the 70s and 80s, were that they don't really have any characters I can latch onto, and the slasher itself feels like it's indestructible or someone who can't be defeated. And that's not the case with this. My favorite slasher series is the Scream series, and the big draw with those films, in my opinion, is the fact that you're trying to figure out who's Ghostface the entire movie, and that's directly relatable to Thanksgiving. You're trying to figure out who's wearing that John Carver mask, so it adds this murder mystery element to it, this Scooby-Doo element to it, if you will, and on top of that, the movie's just fun. It's very over the top and cheesy at times, but it embraces that, it never strays away from that, and there are some gory kills in this film. It's not for the faint of heart, but it's also not the goriest horror movie I've ever seen. Some of them are just so ridiculous, you can't help but almost laugh at how wild it is. The movie kept me on my toes personally. Some have said it's predictable, I don't see that. But I also feel like anytime a slasher comes out and the killer is revealed, someone's always like, oh, I knew it all along, when in reality, you probably didn't. It's kind of like hindsight's 20/20, or hindsight bias, you know, but it is what it is. By the time the reveal happens, it is a bit like, oh, okay, I can see that. Yeah, it's not like the most shocking reveal ever, but it's not like I pinpointed it from the moment said character, who ended up being John Carver, came onto screen. So it's one of those situations. I really enjoyed the film. I think the final moments, like specifically the last 2 or 3 minutes, were really rushed, but other than that, had a lot of fun with it. It feels like a Scream movie set in Thanksgiving, and this kind of had me thinking, okay, let's get a Scream film set around Christmas, but then I realized, oh, the Scream franchise is done. Rip to the Scream franchise, pretty much. It's a big bummer. But yeah, I heard Thanksgiving might get a sequel. I'm down. Let's get a Thanksgiving trilogy. Every November or every other November, I'd go watch a new one in theaters. It was a lot of fun. But my favorite movie that came out in November of 2023 was The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I saw the film twice in theaters. The first time was like a half viewing because it was the most disruptive audience I've ever seen. The two people behind me were talking nonstop, giving their running commentary. Someone was coughing the entire movie. People's phones were going off. People were getting up and walking out. And it was at an old school theater where the light would actually, from the door, would shine onto the screen. So it was just the most rude, disruptive, inconsiderate audience I've ever actually attended a film for. So kind of hard to fully grasp everything I watched. I went back and saw it opening day, and I loved this movie. I really liked it the first time. I think that goes to show how great the movie is despite the fact that the audience was trying to ruin this movie for me so much, I was still so intrigued by it that I wanted to go back and watch again, and on second viewing, I enjoyed it even more than I already did. The highlights in this film are the score, which sends chills down my spine every time I hear it. It's outstanding work by James Newton Howard. Rachel Zegler crushes it here. All of her songs hit. And of course, you've got Tom Blythe playing Snow. It's sort of an origin story for him, portraying his slow descent into madness over the course of the film, his downfall, and making us, the audience, understand why he is the way that he is in the Hunger Games films, you know, the first 4 that came out in 2012 through 2015. This is a very effective origin story, but it's also just a damn good Hunger Games film. The middle act gives us the 10th annual Hunger Games, and it's so cool to see how far the games themselves have progressed over the years. Like, things were wild back then, so they've come a long way. There's some cool Easter eggs, and the character Lucky Flickerman was the comedic relief that we all needed in this film, but through and through, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes piqued my interest from the start. I think the third act at times is a little slow, but it sticks the landing fully for me, and the final shot of this film has not escaped my mind. The score paired with just the final close-up, it gives me chills every time, and this is a damn good film. One of the stronger Hunger Games films, and to me, one of the stronger films of 2023 overall. But that's just my ranking of all 5 November 2023 films that I saw. Let me know your favorite movie from November in the comments down below, and be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell to help reach my goal of 100,000 subscribers here on the channel. I'm trying to make that final push as we approach the end of the year. And as always, go show some love to the Unusual Couple podcast for weekly episodes. We have a blast with it over there. But that's going to do it. Thank you guys as always, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.